before the United States had a capital, before it had a constitution, before it even truly understood what it wanted to become, there was a city standing quietly along the banks of a wide, slow-moving river. A city where ideas would collide, where arguments would ignite revolutions, and where the future of an entire nation would be debated behind closed doors by candlelight. This is Philadelphia, not just a place on a map, but a moment in history that never truly ended. Imagine the sound of horse-drawn carts on cobblestone streets, the smell of ink and parchment, the low murmur of voices arguing not about kings or empires, but about liberty, equality, and self-rule. Philadelphia begins its story long before skyscrapers and sports arenas, long before millions of people would call it home. It begins as an idea, a city of brotherly love, founded in 1682 by William Penn, a man driven by radical beliefs for his time. Penn envisioned a city built on tolerance, religious freedom, and cooperation with Native American tribes. In an age of rigid hierarchies and violent conquest, Philadelphia was born as an experiment in coexistence. Geography played its part from the very beginning. Nestled between the Delaware and Schuylkill rivers, Philadelphia quickly became a vital port and trading center. Ships arrived carrying goods, people, and ideas from Europe and the Caribbean. Markets buzzed with activity. Craftsmen, merchants, and thinkers found opportunity here. By the mid-18th century, Philadelphia had become the largest city in the American colonies, not through conquest, but through connection. And then came the moment that would define it forever. In 1776, within the walls of the Pennsylvania State House, now known as Independence Hall, a group of imperfect, deeply human men made a decision that would change the world. The Declaration of Independence was debated, challenged, rewritten, and finally adopted in Philadelphia. It was not unanimous at first. It was not neat. It was risky, dangerous, and revolutionary. These were not mythic heroes carved from stone. They were anxious, exhausted, and uncertain. Yet they chose to sign their names anyway. Philadelphia did not rest after that moment. It became the temporary capital of the United States, hosting the Constitutional Convention in 1787. Here, the framework of American democracy was argued line by line. Compromises were forged. Conflicts erupted. The Constitution that emerged was not perfect, but it was alive, designed to evolve. That idea alone would ripple far beyond the city, influencing nations that would come centuries later. But history in Philadelphia is not confined to grand halls and famous documents. Walk a few blocks away, and you encounter a different story, one of everyday life in an early American city. Benjamin Franklin's printing press clattered day and night. Scientists experimented with electricity in modest workshops. Libraries and hospitals were founded not for profit, but for public good. Philadelphia became a city where ideas mattered, where knowledge was shared, and where innovation was encouraged. As the young nation grew, so did Philadelphia. The 19th century transformed it into an industrial powerhouse. Factories rose along the rivers. Railroads connected it to the expanding country. Immigrants arrived in waves: Irish, Italian, German, Eastern European, each bringing their labor, culture, and dreams. Neighborhoods formed identities that still echo today. The city grew louder, dirtier, faster, and more complex. Yet even as smokestacks rose, Philadelphia never lost its intellectual heartbeat. It became a center for medicine, education, and science. Universities like the University of Pennsylvania pushed boundaries in research and learning. Hospitals pioneered new treatments. This was a city that believed progress came not just from machines, but from minds. By the early 20th century, Philadelphia stood at a crossroads, a city rich in history, strained by change, and facing the challenges of modern America. The question was no longer how Philadelphia was born, but what it would become next. Could a city so deeply tied to the past reinvent itself without losing its soul? That answer would unfold through struggle, resilience, and reinvention, and it's a story still being written. As the 20th century unfolded, Philadelphia found itself caught between two identities. On one hand, it was the birthplace of a nation, carrying the weight of history in every brick and alleyway. On the other, it was a living, breathing industrial city, facing the same pressures that reshaped urban America. Factories that once powered prosperity began to slow. Manufacturing jobs declined. Neighborhoods that had thrived for generations felt the strain of economic change. Philadelphia, like many great cities, was forced to confront a difficult truth. History alone could not guarantee the future. Yet even in moments of decline, the city's character refused to disappear. The streets of South Philadelphia echoed with Italian dialects and family traditions passed down through generations. In North and West Philadelphia, African American communities shaped music, culture, and civil rights movements that resonated far beyond city limits. Jazz clubs, soul music, and later hip-hop became voices of resilience, telling stories of struggle, pride, and survival. Philadelphia's cultural influence quietly grew, even when its economy faltered. The mid-century years were marked by tension and transformation. Urban renewal projects reshaped entire neighborhoods, sometimes with good intentions, often with painful consequences. Communities were displaced, trust was broken, and scars remained. Yet from this upheaval emerged a renewed awareness of the city's social fabric. Grassroots organizations, activists, and local leaders fought to preserve neighborhoods, demand equality, and redefine what progress should look like. Philadelphia became a city learning, sometimes painfully, how to listen to its own people. Education and medicine once again became anchors. Institutions like the University of Pennsylvania, Temple University, and Drexel expanded, drawing students, researchers, and innovators from around the world. The city's hospitals and research centers advanced treatments that saved countless lives. In laboratories and classrooms, Philadelphia rediscovered a familiar strength, the power of ideas. Knowledge, once again, became a pathway forward. Sports played an unexpected but vital role in the city's emotional life. Philadelphia fans became legendary for their passion, demanding, loyal, and fiercely proud. Teams like the Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, and 76ers were more than entertainment. They were symbols of identity. Victories brought collective joy. Losses were shared burdens. In a city accustomed to hard truths, sports became a reminder that perseverance mattered, that showing up mattered, even when the odds were uncertain. By the late 20th century, Philadelphia began to shift again. Old factories were repurposed into studios, offices, and lofts. Historic districts were restored rather than erased. The waterfronts along the Delaware and Schuylkill rivers were reclaimed, reconnecting the city with the waters that had once defined its rise. Art museums expanded. Public spaces gained new life. Slowly, deliberately, Philadelphia began stitching together its past and its future. Immigration added fresh chapters to the story. New communities arrived from Asia, Latin America, and Africa, revitalizing neighborhoods and businesses. Markets, restaurants, and cultural centers flourished, blending old Philadelphia traditions with global influences. The city's identity grew more complex, more layered, and more reflective of the modern world. Diversity was no longer just inherited, it was actively evolving. Through it all, Philadelphia maintained a rare authenticity. It did not chase reinvention by erasing itself. Instead, it adapted by building on what already existed: history, culture, intellect, and community. The city learned that strength does not always come from speed or spectacle. Sometimes it comes from endurance. By the time the 21st century arrived, Philadelphia stood transformed but unmistakable. It was no longer simply the city of the founding fathers, nor just an industrial giant of the past. It was something richer and more human, a city that had stumbled, learned, and chosen to keep going. And yet, the most meaningful question remained unanswered. In a world changing faster than ever, what role would Philadelphia play next? Would it remain a symbol of where the nation began, or could it become a model for where it might go? That answer lies in the present, and in the people who continue to shape this city every day. Today, Philadelphia stands as a city in quiet motion, not rushing to reinvent itself, not clinging blindly to the past, but moving forward with a steady sense of purpose. Walk its streets now and you feel the layering of centuries. Revolutionary landmarks stand beside modern glass towers. Murals stretch across brick walls, telling stories that were once ignored. Cafes, startups, and studios fill spaces that once echoed with factory machines. This is a city that has learned how to carry memory without being weighed down by it. Philadelphia's greatest strength in the modern era is its people. Artists, educators, scientists, chefs, and community leaders shape the city in small but powerful ways every day. Neighborhoods remain deeply personal here. People identify not just as Philadelphians, but as residents of Fishtown, West Philly, Germantown, or South Philly. That sense of place creates accountability, pride, and belonging. It is what keeps the city grounded even as it evolves. The city's role in education and medicine continues to expand. Research hospitals push the boundaries of science. Universities attract global talent. Innovation emerges not only from technology hubs, but from classrooms, labs, and community programs designed to lift entire neighborhoods. Philadelphia understands that progress is most meaningful when it is shared, when opportunity reaches beyond a single zip code. Culturally, the city remains fearless. Music, film, literature, and visual art thrive here because they are honest. Philadelphia does not smooth its edges to appear more attractive. It embraces complexity. It tells the truth about struggle, resilience, and identity. That authenticity resonates far beyond city limits, influencing how America understands itself. Philadelphia also remains a city of conversation. Debate is in its DNA. From its earliest days, ideas have been challenged here, refined here, argued into existence here. That tradition continues in classrooms, council chambers, community meetings, and everyday conversations on stoops and street corners. Democracy is not just remembered in Philadelphia, it is practiced. As the sun sets over the Delaware River and the city lights begin to glow, Philadelphia feels less like a monument and more like a living organism. It breathes history, adapts to change, and endures because it refuses to stop caring about what it stands for. It reminds us that nations are not built once and finished. They are built again and again by people willing to engage, to disagree, and to believe in something larger than themselves. Philadelphia is not perfect. It never has been, and that may be its greatest gift. Its story teaches us that progress is not clean or simple, but it is possible. That ideals matter, even when they are difficult to live up to. And that the past, when understood honestly, can guide the future rather than trap it. Thank you for joining this cinematic journey through Philadelphia, the city where a nation found its voice and continues to question, challenge, and define itself. If this story inspired you, moved you, or gave you a new perspective, please like the video, share it with others, and subscribe for more in-depth documentary journeys. Leave a comment with what Philadelphia means to you, because this city's story, like the nation's, belongs to all of us.